Have you ever wondered why some people seem to draw wealth to themselves as effortlessly as the sun draws the dawn, while others struggle, and still find their hands empty? What if I told you that abundance does not answer to effort alone, nor to chance or fortune, but to an invisible law as precise and certain as the tides of the sea, a law that responds instantly when you align with it, a law that never fails, a law that has been waiting for you to speak the right word, hold the right vision, and open the right door within yourself? There is a vast and boundless source of wealth that flows from the divine, a supply so infinite that no mortal mind can fully comprehend its abundance. Yet most people live as though there were lack, as though there were not enough to go around, as though riches and success belonged only to a chosen few. This is the greatest illusion of all, for the universe itself holds more than enough for every living soul, and wealth flows not by chance, nor by the favor of men, but through the immutable law of divine supply. This law operates with precision, responding to faith as naturally as a seed responds to the sun, as unerringly as rivers flow toward the sea. It is not struggle nor anxious toil that draws riches, but alignment with this higher law, a law as sure as gravity and as generous as the rain that waters the earth without discrimination. Many labor tirelessly, believing that wealth comes through human effort alone, and yet they find themselves weary, their harvest small. Others, with seemingly little striving, find themselves surrounded by plenty, for they have learned to tune their thoughts, words, and expectations to the frequency of abundance. The difference lies in consciousness, for as long as a man believes that supply is limited, as long as he sees wealth as something to chase, fight for, or cling to, he remains in the realm of struggle. But when he awakens to the truth that he lives in a spiritual universe governed by divine law, he begins to understand that wealth is not created by him but through him, and that the source of his supply is inexhaustible. Consider the air you breathe. Do you ever fear there will not be enough air for you tomorrow? Do you ever wake in the night worrying that the supply of oxygen might fail before dawn? Certainly not. You inhale freely, knowing the atmosphere is abundant and inexhaustible. So it is with wealth in the divine economy. Yet, because men have been taught to see lack instead of plenty, they have blocked the flow of supply as surely as one who closes his own hands, and then wonders why nothing can be placed within them. Divine supply demands open hands, open hearts, open minds. Faith is the key that unlocks the treasure house of the universe. Fear closes its doors. A man may work unceasingly, yet if he secretly believes in shortage, if he fears poverty, if he clings to every coin in trembling anxiety, he sets up a vibration of lack that repels abundance. But let him learn the language of faith, let him speak words of plenty, let him see the universe as lavish, rich and overflowing, and he aligns himself with the law that governs all prosperity. For wealth is drawn to faith as metal is drawn to a magnet, silently, irresistibly, and without struggle. There is no reality in limitation. What men call poverty is only the shadow of wrong thinking. The universe knows no lack, it is forever giving, pouring out its riches upon those who can receive. Look at the lavishness of nature, forests thick with trees bearing more seeds than could ever be planted, oceans holding more fish than could ever be caught, stars flung in numberless galaxies across the heavens. If the Creator has filled the earth and skies with such abundance, do you think He has made wealth scarce for His children? No, it is only the mind of man that has fenced itself in with fear, unbelief, and negative words until it sees shortage where God has placed plenty. To attract wealth effortlessly, one must come into harmony with the divine supply. This begins not with frantic action, but with inner alignment, with the quiet certainty that all one's needs are met, even before they are spoken. Ask and it is given is not mere poetry, it is a spiritual law. Yet the asking must be done in faith, without doubt or double-mindedness, for a request made in fear is no request at all, but a confession of unbelief. Speak your word of supply as one giving thanks for rain already falling upon parched ground. Declare abundance not as a beggar pleading for crumbs, but as a child claiming his rightful inheritance. When the mind is fixed on limitation, it builds walls around itself, walls through which supply cannot enter. Worry, resentment, envy, and fear are the bricks with which men build these walls. Gratitude, faith, generosity, and right words are the tools that tear them down. The law of divine supply rushes in wherever fear departs, just as light floods a room the moment shutters are thrown open. It needs no coaxing, no bargaining, no frantic struggling, only the removal of the barriers men themselves have built through wrong thought and wrong speech. Many will say, "But I have prayed, I have asked, yet no wealth has come." Let such a one examine his inner state. Has he prayed while holding fast to secret doubts? Has he asked for abundance while resenting the riches of others? Has he spoken words of plenty in the morning, yet spent the day in fear of bills and debts? A double-minded man receives nothing because he believes in two powers, abundance and lack, instead of one power, the divine supply that knows no opposite. Speak your word and stand upon it. Do not mix it with words of fear. Do not dig up your seed with anxious wondering. Plant it in faith and let the law work silently, for as surely as harvest follows seed time, wealth follows the words spoken in unwavering trust. You are not the source of your supply. This is the most freeing truth of all. When a man thinks his job, his investments, or his business is his source, he lives in perpetual fear that these channels may fail. But when he learns that God, the Divine Spirit, the Infinite, is his source, he rests secure though every visible channel vanish, for new channels will appear as surely as rivers find new courses when old ones are dammed. The law is never bound by forms, it flows through endless avenues when men do not limit it with fear. One may say, "But wealth must come through some channel." Yes, but the channels are numberless. You need not dictate to the law how, when, or through whom your supply shall come. To do so is to limit the limitless. Simply speak the word of abundance, believe you have received, and leave the details to the law. The rain does not ask through which clouds it shall fall, it simply pours because the law of moisture and gravity so ordains. In the same way, wealth comes because the law of supply and faith so ordains, not because you have strained and worried over its coming. There is a spiritual security in knowing this law, a deep peace in realizing that nothing can withhold your good once you have spoken for it in faith. The world may be in turmoil, markets may rise and fall, yet he who understands the law stands like a tree by living waters, green in drought, unshaken in storm, bearing fruit in season because his roots go deep into the infinite supply that never fails. The tongue holds the keys to creation. It opens doors or closes them, blesses or curses, builds or destroys. For every word we speak sets unseen forces into motion. Many speak carelessly, unaware that the universe listens with absolute obedience, shaping circumstances according to the commands given it through thought and speech. Words clothed with faith carry the vibration of power. They go forth as messengers, planting seeds in the invisible realm, seeds that in time sprout into visible form. The world calls it chance or coincidence, but those who understand the law know it is the harvest of words spoken in faith or fear, in confidence or in despair. Long before a man experiences lack in his outer world, he has spoken lack in his inner one. He has said, "I cannot afford this," or "money never comes to me," or "I always fail," and the universe, like a faithful servant, has answered, "As you decree, so shall it be." The outer life is but the echo of inner speech, the reflection of the words we have sown into the soil of the mind. To change one's world, one must first change his words, for words are the tools with which reality is shaped. Consider the architect drawing the plans of a cathedral. Before a single stone is laid, the entire structure exists in thought and speech. The builders follow the blueprint, they do not question it. So it is with the universe, it builds according to the words spoken, following the design given it by the architect of speech. A man who speaks fear builds walls, one who speaks faith builds doors. The universe does not choose for him, it simply follows the plan. This is why idle words are dangerous. Many, in jest or habit, speak of poverty, failure, sickness, and limitation as though such words carried no weight. Yet the law makes no distinction between serious words and careless ones. It takes all speech as a decree, for the law is impersonal, like soil receiving both weeds and wheat without preference. If you plant thorns, do not expect roses. If you sow lack, do not expect abundance. The tongue scatters seeds with every utterance. The harvest is certain, for words do not return void, but accomplish that which they are sent forth to do. The wise therefore guard their speech as a king guards his treasure, knowing that each word is a coin spent into the currency of the universe. They speak only that which they desire to see made manifest, refusing to give life to lack by naming it, refusing to energize fear by repeating it, refusing to create delay by confessing doubt. Instead, they speak abundance even when appearances deny it. They declare health when the body protests. They affirm success when the outer world shows none, for they know that words spoken in faith call forth things unseen until they become seen. The law works instantly, though the manifestation may come through time and space. The moment you speak the word in unwavering faith, forces are set in motion. Invisible channels open, unseen connections form, hearts are stirred, doors swing wide, opportunities appear where none existed, because the universe rushes to obey the command given it through faith-filled speech. Many cancel their own prayers by speaking doubt immediately after asking. They say, "I believe wealth is coming," then spend the day confessing how poor they are, how bad the times are, how little money there is in circulation. They mix faith with fear until the soil of their mind grows nothing but confusion. One must speak with the authority of one who knows, not hopes. The man who says, "I shall be rich someday," speaks from a position of distance. Wealth forever remains in the future. But the one who declares, "I have abundance now, wealth flows to me in divine order," speaks from the position of possession, and the universe mirrors his certainty. To claim a thing as already yours is to plant the seed as though the harvest were assured. Farmers do not sow in doubt, they do not ask if the earth will obey. They sow in expectation. So too must we sow words of wealth with full assurance that the law will fulfill its promise. Some protest, but I cannot lie. I cannot say I am rich when I have nothing. Yet faith does not lie. It speaks of the unseen as though it were seen, for it knows the unseen is the parent of the seen. The oak tree exists within the acorn before it rises above the soil. The harvest exists within the seed before it waves golden in the field. To say, "I am rich," when wealth is yet invisible is no falsehood. It is aligning speech with spiritual reality rather than material appearance. Appearances change, the law of abundance does not. Negative words are like poison poured into a stream. They spread through the currents of life, polluting opportunities, delaying answers, attracting difficulties, for fear has the same creative power as faith but in reverse. Faith builds, fear destroys. Faith opens doors, fear bars them. Faith draws supply, fear drives it away. Many spend their days confessing every fear that comes to mind, speaking of debts, losses, failures, until their whole world echoes with the very conditions they have been naming. To change such a life, one must reverse the current by changing the words at its source. Start with small declarations spoken with feeling. I am one with infinite supply. Wealth comes to me easily and effortlessly. Every bill is paid in divine order. Money flows to me in expected and unexpected ways. I live in a rich, friendly universe that meets all my needs abundantly. Speak them aloud, for the spoken word carries vibration, and vibration sets creation in motion. The walls of Jericho fell at the sound of the trumpet, not the silence of thought. Sound carries power, it impregnates the unseen with life. But let the words be backed by belief. Parroted phrases without conviction are empty shells, they carry no creative force. The power lies not merely in the words themselves, but in the faith behind them. Speak as a king giving commands, not as a beggar pleading for favors. The universe responds to authority, and authority comes from knowing the law, trusting it utterly, and refusing to contradict it with words of fear. Some speak wealth, yet inwardly hold resentment toward the rich, envy toward the successful, or secret fear that money is evil. Such inner conflict neutralizes their words, for the tongue and the heart must agree. Bless the wealth of others, rejoice in their prosperity. Give thanks for every sign of abundance around you, and your own words will grow rich with creative power. The spoken word not only attracts wealth but directs it. Like a captain steering a ship, your words chart the course of your finances, relationships, and opportunities. Speak aimlessly, and life drifts aimlessly. Speak with purpose, and life moves with direction. A captain does not stare at the waves, he gives orders to reach the destination. So too must you speak toward abundance, health, success, as though giving commands to loyal servants who know no will but to obey. The secret of effortless wealth lies not in frantic striving nor in anxious planning, but in the quiet art of letting go. For as long as the heart clutches its desires with fear, as long as the mind seeks to control the manner and timing of supply, the divine law stands waiting, its abundance withheld only because man himself has bound it with the cords of his own anxiety. The universe is lavish, rich beyond measure, ready to pour out treasures unceasingly, yet it demands open hands, not clenched fists. It asks for trust, not tension, surrender, not struggle. Letting go is not idleness. It is not carelessness, nor is it an excuse for inaction. It is the highest form of faith. The deep knowing that what you desire is already on its way, that every force in heaven and earth is moving in perfect order to bring it to you, and that you need not watch the clock nor dictate the path by which it shall come. Many have spoken their word of supply, prayed for abundance, affirmed wealth faithfully, yet they continue to live in a state of strained expectation, questioning when and how and through whom their good will appear. They speak faith but think fear. They affirm abundance yet watch the days anxiously for signs, as though the universe could forget or fail. The art of letting go is the cure for this inner strain. It is the releasing of control, the ceasing of worry, the quiet surrender of results into the hands of the divine law, knowing that once the word has been spoken in faith, the work is already done in the unseen. Just as a seed planted in the earth must be left undisturbed to take root and grow, so must our desires be released to the law after we have planted them with words of faith. No farmer digs up his seed daily to see if it is growing. He trusts the soil, the sun, the rain, the silent forces of nature to do their work. So too must we trust the law of supply, refusing to disturb the process with anxious thoughts or fearful words. Fear is the great thief of supply. It clutches tightly, saying, "What if it does not come? What if I fail? What if there is not enough?" And in so doing, it shuts the very door through which abundance would flow. Fear is like a closed fist, nothing can be placed into it. Faith opens the hand wide, ready to receive. The art of letting go is the art of living in open-handed faith, expecting everything, clinging to nothing, knowing that what belongs to you will come without effort or strain, because the divine law brings to each what is his by right of consciousness. The moment you release anxiety, the moment you cease dictating terms to the universe, channels open, doors swing wide. Opportunities appear where before there seemed only walls. Why? Because fear had built the walls, and faith tears them down. Many block their own good by outlining the manner in which it must arrive. They say, "My wealth must come through this job, this investment, this person," and so they limit the unlimited, chaining divine supply to human channels. When these channels fail, they think the law has failed, not knowing they themselves have tied its hands with their insistence upon form. Letting go means leaving the form to the divine. Speak your word for abundance, then let the law choose the channels. Supply may come through expected paths or through doors you never dreamed could open. The law is not bound by your plans, it moves by infinite wisdom, weaving circumstances beyond human foresight. When you release control, You free the law to work in ways you could not have arranged if you tried 1,000 lifetimes. Some hold so tightly to what little they have that they shut out greater good. They clutch small sums in fear, saying, "I cannot afford to give. I may need this tomorrow." And in so doing, they tell the universe, "I do not believe in your abundance." The law takes them at their word. They receive little because they expect little. Letting go includes releasing the fear of giving, knowing that circulation is the law of life. As blood must flow to keep the body alive, so must wealth flow to keep it multiplying. Hoarding in fear is like cutting off the circulation. It breeds stagnation and lack. Giving in faith opens the channels wide for increase. Consider the river that flows freely to the sea. It gives of its waters endlessly, never fearing depletion, for it knows its source in the mountains is abundant. So too must man give freely, whether of money, time, or kindness, knowing the source of his supply is not in the gift, nor in the recipient, but in the divine law that multiplies all he releases in faith. What you give returns to you pressed down, shaken together, running over. For you have declared through your giving, "I live in an abundant universe. I fear no lack," and the law answers, "According to your faith, it is done unto you." Letting go also means releasing resentment, unforgiveness, and all negative emotions that clog the channels of supply. Some hold grievances from the past, grudges against those who wronged them, bitterness over opportunities lost, and then wonder why new doors do not open. The law of supply cannot flow through a heart filled with resentment any more than water can flow through a blocked pipe. Forgiveness clears the channel. It sets the current of good in motion again. To release others is to release yourself, to open the way for fresh blessings to reach you unhindered. Worry is another form of holding on. It is the mind's attempt to control what only faith can accomplish. Worry circles endlessly, seeking answers, planning, fretting, fearing, and in so doing, it binds the very good it seeks to attract. Faith rests. Faith speaks the word, knows it is done, and then lives in quiet expectation, unconcerned with the how or when. The art of letting go is the art of resting inwardly, even while acting outwardly. You take wise steps as they are shown to you, but you do not strain, you do not chase, you do not beg. You know the supply is certain because the law is certain, and so you move through each day with calm assurance rather than anxious effort. Letting go does not mean lack of desire, it means desire without desperation. It means wanting without clinging, asking without begging, receiving without fear of loss. It means trusting the law so completely that you can release the matter from your mind. Knowing it is already accomplished in the unseen and will appear in the visible at the right time, in the right way, through the right channels. The moment you release it, the moment you stop clutching it with anxious thought, the law begins to work unhindered, and what you have asked for moves toward you as surely as rivers find the sea. Every building, every invention, every work of art, every discovery that has blessed humanity existed first in the realm of thought before it took form in the outer world. The visible springs from the invisible, the seen is born of the unseen, and among all the gifts bestowed upon man by the divine, none holds greater creative power than the imagination. It is the sacred workshop of the mind where ideas are conceived, plans are drawn, and visions are formed long before a single brick is laid or a single step taken. The imagination is the blueprint of reality. What you see inwardly with feeling and faith becomes the pattern around which the outer world arranges itself. Many live as prisoners of appearances because they have not learned to see beyond them. They look at lack and imagine more lack. They behold failure and imagine more failure. They focus on obstacles and wonder why doors remain closed. Yet those who dare to imagine abundance, success, and fulfillment even in the face of lack set in motion forces that transform circumstances to match the inner vision. The law of life is simple. What you continually hold in mind, you magnetize into your experience. Imagination clothes thought with form, gives it shape, color, and life until the subconscious accepts it as reality and begins to attract its outer equivalent. The world calls it coincidence when opportunities, people, and circumstances appear in perfect alignment with an inner vision, but it is the law responding with precision to the pictures held in the mind. The imagination is not mere fantasy, it is the creative faculty of the soul. Daydreams drift aimlessly, but true imagination is directed, focused, sustained with faith. It paints the picture of the life you desire as vividly as an architect draws the plans of a cathedral. The builders of the cathedral do not question the drawing, they follow it faithfully. Likewise, the universe does not question the images impressed upon the subconscious, it builds them into reality through countless channels, arranging conditions, drawing people, opening doors, moving resources, all according to the pattern given it by the inner vision. Many pray for wealth yet continue to picture poverty. They affirm abundance with their lips while inwardly imagining debts, losses, and empty hands. The subconscious receives the stronger impression, and the stronger impression always comes from feeling. To imagine yourself wealthy while feeling fearful or doubtful is to cancel your own blueprint with conflicting instructions. The law cannot build two opposing pictures at once. It will always manifest the one impressed with the greatest emotion, whether faith or fear. Therefore, to attract wealth effortlessly, one must learn to imagine it with the calm certainty of one who already possesses it. See yourself living in ease, bills paid, opportunities abundant, every need met in divine order. Picture the life you desire not as distant or uncertain, but as present and real. Let every detail be vivid: the home you live in, the work you love, the generosity with which you give, the gratitude with which you receive. Let these images fill your mind until they stir emotion, for feeling is the fire that forges the picture into reality. When you hold a vision steadily, without contradicting it with fear or doubt, the law begins to move. Ideas come, doors open, resources appear, often through channels you could never have planned. The imagination draws from infinite intelligence, not merely from the limited reasoning mind. It sees beyond facts, beyond appearances, beyond obstacles, into the realm of pure possibility where all things already exist in potential form. By holding the vision faithfully, you give the law the pattern from which to shape your reality. Some say, "I cannot imagine wealth while living in poverty." The contrast is too great. Yet it is in poverty that imagination becomes most powerful, for it lifts the soul above appearances into the realm of faith. When Jesus said, "Believe that you have received, and it shall be yours," he spoke of the imagination's power to claim the unseen as already accomplished. The outer world eventually conforms to the inner claim because the law has no choice but to build according to the blueprint impressed upon it. Imagination works both ways. It can build abundance or lack, success or failure, health or sickness. Worry is simply negative imagination, picturing what you do not want with fear instead of faith. Many spend hours imagining disasters, losses, unpaid bills, rejection, and failure, then wonder why such things appear in their lives. They have built the wrong blueprint, and the law, being impersonal, has merely obeyed their instructions. To change your life, you must change your inner pictures. Refuse to dwell on what you fear, picture only what you desire. See it, feel it, claim it as real. When doubts arise, replace them instantly with the inner image of success. This is not denial of reality, it is creation of a higher reality. Appearances reflect the past, imagination creates the future. By holding the new picture steadily, you give the law time to dissolve old conditions and build the new. Gratitude strengthens the blueprint. When you give thanks for your desire as though already fulfilled, you add feeling to the vision, and feeling accelerates manifestation. Say often, "I give thanks for my abundant supply now and forever." Let the words be accompanied by inner pictures of wealth flowing to you, bills marked, paid, doors opening, opportunities multiplying. The subconscious takes these pictures as commands, and the universe begins to arrange circumstances accordingly. Imagination works best in quietness. Take moments each day to withdraw from noise and distraction, to close your eyes and picture your life as you wish it to be. Let the vision be vivid and detailed, filled with the emotion of gratitude and expectancy. Do not strain, do not wonder how or when it will appear. Simply hold the picture with faith, knowing that the law of creation works silently, unfailingly, as surely as seed time leads to harvest. Some fear that imagination is mere self-deception, that they are lying to themselves by picturing what is not yet visible. But faith always speaks and acts as though the unseen were already present, for it knows the unseen is the source of the seen. The oak tree exists in the acorn before it rises above the soil. The harvest exists in the seed before it waves golden in the sun. To imagine wealth while appearances show lack is not deception. It is aligning with spiritual reality rather than material illusion. Hold the vision and act as though guided by it. The law will lead you step by step. Ideas will come, hunches will arise, doors will open, often in ways you could not have planned. The imagination sets the direction, faith takes the steps, the law provides the means. Together they form the creative process through which all supply flows. Gratitude is the song of the soul that opens every gate of abundance. It is the attitude that takes what you have, whether little or great, and blesses it until it multiplies beyond measure. Many look at what they lack and complain, thinking that more will come once they have reason to be thankful. Yet the law works in reverse. More comes to the one who gives thanks for what he already has, even if it be as small as the widow's cruse of oil that never failed or the loaves and fishes that fed the multitude. Gratitude declares, I already live in abundance, and the law responds by sending increase, for it mirrors the state of consciousness held within. When you rise in the morning with thanks upon your lips, when you look upon your daily bread, your home, your work, your opportunities, and say, I give thanks for this good and for the greater good on its way, you send forth a vibration of increase. Life hears your song of thanksgiving and answers with blessings multiplied. But when you complain, when you dwell on lack, when you speak of what you do not have, you set in motion the vibration of decrease, shutting the door against the very good you seek. The grateful heart expects everything because it already sees itself as living in a friendly, generous universe. It gives thanks before the harvest appears, knowing the harvest must come because the law of seed time and harvest cannot fail. Gratitude waters the seeds of faith, it quickens them into life, speeds their growth, hastens their manifestation. Without gratitude, desires remain barren wishes. With it, they spring into form with astonishing speed. Consider the master who, before multiplying the loaves and fishes, first gave thanks for what was in hand. He did not look at the small supply and say, This is not enough. He blessed it, he thanked the Father, and as he distributed it, it grew until every need was met with plenty left over. This is the law of gratitude in action. Bless what you have, use it with thanksgiving, and it will increase in your hands. Some say, I will give thanks when I have more. But the law waits for thanksgiving now, not later. The grateful heart does not postpone its song. It sings in the present, and the present expands to meet its faith. If you have only $1, bless it, thank the universe for it. Declare it a seed that will multiply, and you set in motion forces that draw more to you. To complain over small supply is to hold it small. To bless it is to multiply it. Generosity works hand in hand with gratitude, for giving declares abundance even more powerfully than words. When you give freely, you say to the universe, I do not fear lack, I live in the flow of supply, I know more is coming. And the law answers with increase, for life always multiplies what you release. The farmer who hoards his seed for fear of losing it reaps no harvest. The one who scatters it freely reaps abundantly because he trusts the law of growth. Money, like water, must flow or it grows stagnant. Some clutch it tightly, fearing the future, saying, I cannot afford to give, and in so doing, they choke the channels of supply. Others give freely, guided by wisdom, blessing every gift, and they find the stream of wealth returning to them in ever greater measure. For giving is not loss, it is circulation. The law of life itself. You cannot outgive the universe. Every gift returns multiplied because you have aligned with the divine nature, which is eternal givingness. The measure of increase is not in the size of the gift, but in the spirit of faith behind it. One may give little yet receive greatly, because he gives in joy, in confidence, in love, with no thought of fear or loss. Another may give much yet see little return, because he gives grudgingly, calculatingly, as though parting with his good rather than planting it for increase. The law responds not to the amount, but to the consciousness behind it. Gratitude and generosity together form a current that carries wealth swiftly into one's life. Gratitude opens the heart to receive. Generosity keeps the flow in motion. Like inhaling and exhaling, the two work as one. Inhale without exhaling, and the breath of life ceases. Receive without giving, and the flow of supply halts. The universe itself operates in cycles of giving and receiving, the tides of the sea, the seasons of the earth, the very beating of the heart. And man, to live abundantly, must join this rhythm. Some fear that giving will leave them with less. Not knowing the law multiplies all that is released in faith. The seed that falls into the ground seems lost, yet from it springs the harvest. The water poured out upon the field seems gone, yet it calls forth green life in abundance. So with every gift it leaves your hand, but not your life. It returns multiplied because you have set in motion the law of circulation. Even a kind word, a helping hand, a thought of blessing given freely carries this multiplying power. For generosity is not only of money, it is of spirit, of time, of service, of love. The one who lives to bless others, who gives of himself in joy and kindness, finds life pouring blessings back upon him in ways he could never have planned. The law returns to each what he sends forth, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Gratitude prevents pride when increase comes, for it remembers the source. The grateful heart knows wealth flows not from human effort alone, but from divine law working through countless channels. It gives thanks for every gift, every opportunity, every open door, seeing each as part of the infinite supply pouring from the unseen into the seen. Together, gratitude and generosity dissolve fear, for fear clutches while faith releases. Fear hoards while faith gives. Fear complains while faith gives thanks. And wherever fear departs, abundance flows in unhindered, for the universe rushes to fill every vacuum created by giving, every space opened by gratitude. The one who gives thanks and gives freely lives in perpetual harvest, because he abides in the rhythm of life itself, the eternal law of increase that can never fail. As we stand at the end of this journey, let every word spoken take root in the fertile soil of your spirit. Wealth, as you have seen, is not a distant dream but a living current, ready to flow the moment you align with its laws. Faith opens the door, words shape the unseen, imagination paints the picture, gratitude waters the seeds, and generosity keeps the river of supply ever moving. The universe waits for no delay. It mirrors back to you the song you sing within. If you choose lack, it will echo lack. If you choose abundance, it will pour forth abundance in ways beyond your reasoning. The law is simple, unchanging, and unfailing. What you bless multiplies. What you speak takes form. What you give returns to you pressed down, shaken together, running over. So walk forward now with a heart lifted in praise, a tongue speaking life, a mind envisioning only good, and hands open to give as freely as you receive. For the one who dares to live in faith, gratitude, and givingness will find that wealth comes not as toil, not as strain, but as the effortless and instant response of a universe that always answers the call of a believing heart.